chaos at Ibrox as Kevin Thelwell threatens to walk out the door in a desperate bid to save Russell Martin's job. Yes, seriously, Oscar Cortes vanishes to Spain's second division, chasing World Cup dreams barely weeks after signing permanently for Rangers. Nsiayala shoved further out the door as mystery European clubs scramble to rescue what's left of that failed signing. And in the middle of the madness, Canadian insider shares the real reason Derek Cornelius chose to join Rangers. Strap in because everything at Ibrox is boiling over and you need to see it all unfold. Well, buckle up because the chaos behind the scenes at Ibrox is spilling out into the open and it's not pretty. Kevin Thelwell, the man brought in with so much promise as the new sporting director, is now threatening to chuck it all together barely months after walking through the front doors of Ibrox. You heard that right. According to reports, Thelwell was so desperate to protect Russell Martin from the sack that he told the Rangers board he'd walk if they dared to pull the trigger. This bombshell came after a behind-closed-doors executive meeting where the idea of sacking Martin was firmly on the table. And instead of backing the club's direction, Thelwell decided to draw a line in the sand, declaring he'd leave rather than see his hand-picked manager shown the door. Now, just take that in for a moment. Rangers have suffered an embarrassing 9-1 aggregate defeat to Club Brugge, a start to the league that's been anything but title-worthy, and a transfer window that's left you scratching your head. £20 million in net spend, 13 new faces in the dressing room, the most expensive Rangers signing in 25 years with Youssef Chermati, a player who couldn't get a sniff at Everton, and yet Thelwell's standing by his man like it's some sort of loyalty badge. Let's be honest, Russell Martin looks out of his depth. 3 wins in 11 games, no tactical identity, and a squad that's miles off where it needs to be if you're serious about silverware. Patrick Stewart and Thelwell may be giving him the vote of confidence in the press, but the pitch is telling a very different story. And what about the signings? Max Aarons and Joe Rothwell were meant to bring Premier League pedigree, but they've looked more like Sunday League regulars. This is a club where the standards are sky high. Mediocrity doesn't just get frowned upon, it gets chased out of Govan. Now you're left with a situation where Thelwell's leadership is being questioned. The man was brought in to steady the ship, to modernize the operation, and make Ibrox a fortress again. Instead, he's lighting fires and threatening to abandon ship. That's not leadership, that's drama. If Russell Martin's clearly not up to the job and Kevin Thelwell is threatening to walk for him, would Rangers be better off getting rid of both and starting fresh before this season turns into another write-off? Right then, let's have a wee word about Oscar Cortes, the Colombian winger who arrived at Ibrox with a decent bit of hype, a £4.5 million price tag, and the kind of flair you were hoping would tear up defences in the Scottish Premiership. Instead, he's packing his bags for Spain's second division. Cortez has now gone out on loan to Sporting Gijón, barely weeks after his move to Rangers was made permanent. Let that sink in. Permanent deal done, expectations sky high, and before you've had time to memorize a chant with his name in it, he's away to the Segunda Division. Now, he's come out and said he's doing it to boost his chances of getting back into Colombia's national squad. Fair enough, the lad's got ambition. He's dreaming of the World Cup in the USA, Canada, and Mexico next year, and he reckons helping Gijón win promotion to La Liga is the way to do it. But here's the thing, why couldn't he do that at Ibrox? Why couldn't he break into a Rangers side desperate for width, desperate for pace, and desperate for someone to take a man on? He even admits he learned a lot at Rangers, but if that's the case, where was the end product? You don't pay £4.5 million for a bench warmer or a project. That kind of money at Ibrox needs to deliver now, not next year in Spain. And let's not forget, This isn't a La Liga club. This is a team trying to get back there. He's not going into the glamour of the Bernabeu or Camp Nou. He's off to play in front of 10,000 folk in Segunda stadiums, all in the hope of catching the eye of Colombia's selectors. It begs the question, was this another piece of questionable recruitment? Another name added to the ever-growing list of players who arrive at Ibrox, flatter to deceive, then disappear off on loan while you're still waiting to see them hit form? If Oscar Cortes is chasing his World Cup dream in Spain's second tier, should he ever have been signed permanently by Rangers in the first place? Clinton Nsiayala, remember the name? You'd be forgiven if you didn't. Signed with a bit of a backstory as a former AC Milan youth product, brought in with whispers of potential and pedigree, and now on his way out of Ibrox without leaving so much as a ripple. The young Frenchman was reportedly close to sealing a loan move to Dynamo Kyiv on deadline day. Deal agreed, papers ready, but the player pulled the plug. Now, here we are again with Rangers actively shopping him around the continent, looking for somewhere, anywhere, that'll take him off the books. This time, it's Pogoń Szczecin of Poland who've come knocking. Now, Pogoń have already shipped 13 goals in their first 7 games of the season, so you can see why they're desperate to bolster the backline. And apparently, Nsiayala fits the profile for what they need, a left-sided centre-back with raw talent. But let's be honest, if you've been left out of Rangers' Europa League squad at 21 years of age, that's the clearest sign, yet you're nowhere near the plans under Russell Martin. You've got to question what the thinking was when he was brought in. Was it just a cheap gamble with resale value in mind? Was it another one of those mysterious scouting decisions that seem to come from nowhere and vanish just as fast? Because from the outside looking in, this is yet another name to add to the long list of players who show up, barely feature, and then quietly vanish into the European wilderness. And let's not kid ourselves, Rangers don't have the luxury of stocking up on passengers. Every squad place, every transfer, every wage packet has to matter. Nsiayala's never been given the chance to grow into anything meaningful at Ibrox, and by the looks of it, he never will. Why are Rangers continuing to waste time and resources signing players who clearly aren't ready for the demands of Ibrox? Is this a scouting problem, a leadership failure, or just another symptom of a deeper recruitment crisis? Finally, a signing that might actually make sense. Derek Cornelius, the Canadian international centre-back, has arrived at Ibrox on loan from Marseille, and for once this feels like a deal that's more than just a panic button slap. Let's face it, the defense has been an absolute shambles so far. Nasser Giga, struggling. Emmanuel Fernandez, barely been seen. The backline's been leaking goals, the system's been all over the place, and Russell Martin's blueprint looks more like a child's drawing than a tactical plan. The pressure is mounting, not just on Martin, but on Kevin Thelwell too. So Cornelius walks into Ibrox with a job to do and no time to waste. Now, according to Canadian coach Ewan Sharp, this move is all about the World Cup. Cornelius wants to play, he wants to test himself, and he reckons that doing it at Rangers, with the expectation, the pressure, and the sheer mental furnace that is G51, will sharpen him for Canada's biggest stage. He's no stranger to adversity either. You don't move from Germany to Serbia to Canada to Greece to Sweden, then Marseille, and now Rangers without having a bit of grit about you. He's not just a journeyman, he's a battler. And at 6'2", with stats that include a 93.8% pass accuracy in League One, he's not just a unit, he's composed on the ball too. That's the kind of player Russell Martin claims he wants, someone who can play out from the back, break lines, and also dig in when it gets dirty. Because let's be honest, you don't win titles in Scotland without a bit of steel, and right now, Rangers need less chat and more action. So Cornelius looks the part on paper. He's got the experience, the physicality, the stats, but there's one burning issue still looming. If Derek Cornelius turns out to be a standout while the rest of Russell Martin's signings crumble around him, does that not prove the real problem is Martin himself? Comment below what you think about the news. Don't forget to leave a like on the video to help me out. I post videos every day talking about our Rangers, so if you're not subscribed, you're missing out on the latest news. See you soon.